Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Batman Arkham Asylum. So, we're tracking the blood of Quincy Sharp, which is the guy in charge of Arkham Asylum. Is he even a character that showed up in the game before this point? Warden Sharp. No, he's totally new to the game, so if he's like Dr. Young, who was just murdered in the last episode, he's dead meat too. It's debatable, but I would argue had Commissioner Gordon and Quincy Sharp and we got some gun people. Let's see. Like, why not establish that the Joker has bombs all over the island? You have to potentially save everybody, or the Joker has kidnapped several people and you have to save everybody, instead of going through this less realistic process of us saving Commissioner Gordon and then, oh no, we were expecting some other kinds of somebody else to be a motivating factor for Batman instead of Batman just wanting to defeat the Joker. Like, inherently Batman just wants to defeat the Joker, so it's not unrealistic to tell a tale where the Joker escaped and Batman just chases him down and there's nothing more that needs to be said. He doesn't really need to have any other, let's see, factor to as far, or motivator, because let's face it, the Joker would be enough. So we can kind of see that the gun factor doesn't really affect me now that my health is so high. I'm just gonna go ahead and take this guy, hit that guy, and fling him. Smash that guy in the head. And throw a thing at him. Like, their guns really don't matter. And their suicide vests really didn't play a role in this case. Other than we're just gonna have that making sounds. I suppose that it might have been more of a challenge if I hadn't upgraded my health, but I had, so I did, so that's exactly what happened. Now I'm just kind of walking around. Hey, there's a bat. Is this an actual bat flying around? Yeah. There's like one bat. But there were no bats in the bat cave for some reason. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's nothing in that case. So it seems kind of redundant for it to be there. So yeah. We didn't need Dr. Young kidnapped and then
let me go, you crazy bitch.
And then Sharp kidnapped and then Gordon.
Hey, Bats, you gonna join the party or what?
Am I hearing audio only? Let's see. There's not, I think, a collectible or anything here. And yeah, I feel like this is just shut down for no reason. Like, this was enabled and we had to jump over, and it's kind of ridiculous. Half of these security gates are now getting shut down in weird ways other than just being able to hack them open, and the only security gates that we're actually going to need to hack open are going to be things that are hiding collectibles.
As of 10 minutes ago, I have made it illegal to walk on the floor in any part of the asylum. Anyone caught doing so will be... Oh, this is stupid. Anyone caught will have their legs removed and perform magic tricks for Emperor Joker. There, I did it.
So she's like tasing him.
Ready for more?
In this area, if we were just to look at the Riddler challenges, yeah, here's a great example. A door we can't hack by default. We need to get a Metroidvania upgrade that gives us a laser thing, and seems like maybe they spray painted this sign even more than the last time I looked at it.
This is Warden Shaw. We'll all... I'm doing what you want.
So it's a bit cringy to have to listen to Warden Shaw be tortured the whole time, and so they've just kind of traded when you open in the open world from hearing kind of cringy repetitive lines of dialogue from Joker to cringy repetitive I guess we're going to the visitor center and not the botanical gardens. Cringy repetitive lines from Sharp. This might be really short, this whole section. We may be fighting the crocodile earlier than I thought. They've got to kind of squeeze him in as an enemy in kind of the same way they squeeze in the Scarecrow elements. 2 armed, 4 unarmed. Although in fairness it looks like it is 2 with guns, 3 with metal bats, and 1 bear unarmed, which that is not how you would calculate unarmed. Let's be clear on that factor. Okay, we'll see if I can jump up there, but I guess not. And I can't grapple up there either. I'll just kind of sneak around.
But you will just shut the hell up. This is supposed to be an ambush.
Yeah. Just wanted something to take the edge off, you know?
Just keep it
It
down.
would sure be nice if I had the explosive batarang right now. But I don't, and where are we? We're just kind of in a tunnel that it's its own little separate thing, I guess. Is there anything else to do? No. So we'll make sure we're on the back claw. We'll go down this way and then punch this guy, hit that guy, hit that guy, smash that guy in the head, smack that guy, counter that guy, counter that guy. It's a lot of button mashing that is slightly more than button mashing. That guy did not get downed fast enough, so we're going to take him out first. If I was any good at this at all, I would have gotten a very decent combo, but I believe I probably got a 3 or 4 hit combo there. It didn't even say. So that was a pathetically low combo. And the game wants me to go that way. And I want to go this way for collectibles. The good news is, with the exception of that secret area in the warden's office, there is no other location where we have to blow things up multiple times. Interesting. It does seem like I could have gotten up here. I don't know what that would have done for me though. Let's get the Riddler trophy first, and then we'll see.
I thought I made them easy to find. I guess not.
So jump that way to land on this. And that really does nothing. Okay. Says it's counting on you to find his work. So unless this decides to go in a different direction. What was that?
I recommend unloading them into... I can't read this. Unloading them into your head.
So yeah, unless it leads towards this building, which is probably, if I was to guess, just some secret exit to intensive treatment. I guess we're going to the penitentiary, which I guess maybe that means we end the game in the botanical gardens. Let's go out of detective mode and see if we can. Well, there might be a grate on the wall that we couldn't open before in this area. Maybe. There's a whole group of people over there. There's a big building over there. There's this seems to be continuously getting more and more built up. Alright, well. Can I jump dodge? Yeah, with that 5th level of security here, you can just kind of rush this guy. Killing him doesn't refill my health, hitting these other blabbermouths will definitely get it all the way up. And there's nothing you do with these lights, they're just shot out. We may just need to go back and deal with these guys later. So do I want to do an explosion, or do I want to go up here? So there's a doctor.
You're always
He's here!
So if they were there's this doctor on the ground, and He shocked me. So you have to be kind of careful of that. It almost seems like they might be able to pick up weapons off the ground, but they don't do it enough for it to feel realistic. And boy, is that just a pimp slap. And then he's just gonna run away. Is he gonna talk to me? Talk to the orderly?
Thank you, Batman. The guard wouldn't have lasted much longer.
Is he okay?
He struck his head when they knocked him to the ground.
Move him away from here as soon as you can. Take him to the medical facility. It's the safest place on the island.
Okay.
Finally, he
I'll
gives some
go with him
direction.
as soon as he's able to stand.
I don't know why the medical facility is the safest place on the island, but at the very least, we're getting some direction then. Right. So, let's just work our way backwards here. What other collectibles are in this area besides... We've got 2 puzzles. Scarecrow's
gas breakdown.
So we're looking for a broken down something or other. I feel like there would be something in this area, but I'm not sure what it exactly would be. There is a possibility that that looks like another ambulance appeared, and it would have been nice to have at least been able to get to that area over there with the lantern, but apparently Batman can't swim. And there's, I don't think, any other environmental puzzles where you're supposed to scan another part of Gotham. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little green, by the way. A little dark and a little green, and I think that's probably a problem that Gotham in itself is going to always have in any version that is depicted in. I don't know why he would say medical is the safest place. That's questionable, to say the least. Let's see if there's something over here. Nope. So we finally got to walk through that area and really didn't do anything. Botanical garden shortcut. That's about it. And then let's see. Over there was a collectible that we still don't think we really have a way to get to. Unless the back claw lets you grab things. Does the back claw let you grab things? Not that far away. So yeah, still uncertain. We really don't have a double jump or any kind of ability like that. And then over here. Is there possibly a clue in this area? I don't think so. Yeah, still playing the vast majority of the game in detective mode. You can't get away from it unless you just don't want any collectibles. And if you didn't want any collectibles, then you're going to have a very difficult time once you start taking on some of these guys with guns. I feel like the armor upgrade in particular is reducing the amount of damage I'm taking on top of giving me more health. So it might be more deceptive than it seems. Because, well, it might also just be that I'm playing on easy. That might also be the case. And playing on easy may just be the way things... It may just reduce the amount of damage one takes by a large amount. Scarecrow grass. They break down. And then Zaz wants you to see his handiwork, which I thought that was a beheaded statue, but I don't see a beheaded statue anywhere in this map. And I don't think this would be so picky that you would have to get an exact angle. I haven't spent a lot of time looking under here. There's kind of nothing in this. It's just bushes. Unless maybe there's something under this bridge. Hey, there is something down there. So that wasn't this isn't a complete waste of time. Yeah, and we're wasting time right now, but might as well do it now versus later. I assume that this door is locked. Could we just walk into the penitentiary? Are we supposed to walk into the penitentiary? It's the same building, it's just a matter of which door we're gonna use. I wouldn't be surprised if it is the other door. I suppose there could be a collectible hidden behind that section. I don't think there's anything higher. Yeah, it's really, really weird that there are 2 riddles in this area and I can't get either one of them. But whatever, let's go through here. We're probably going to see something that we have to go through there after we get a Harley Quinn cutscene with her torturing Sharp. How do you reflect on your success and failures, Batman? So we've got a couple of guys there. And an interview tape.
Patient evaluation 1. Patient name is Victor Zaz. Diagnosed clinically insane after the murder of at least 20 women in the Gotham area. Hello, Victor. I'm Dr. Cassidy. Seeing as this is our first session, let's spend some time getting to know each other.
I don't recognize Cassidy. She's probably dead.
Don't you think that's a very negative outlook on life, Victor?
You've no doubt read my file.
Yes, I have. It says you come from a wealthy family, that your parents died, how you lost all the money gambling.
And none of it matters.
Why do you keep saying that, Victor?
Because the only thing that does matter is the mark. Have you seen my work, Miss Cassidy?
If you're referring to the marks on your...
Of course I mean my tally marks. And I have a space for yours. Do you want to see where?
So Zaz kind of has the same backstory as Bruce Wayne. That's kind of silly. Like, it goes to show how a lot of the DC comic writers are hacks. Let's make yet another character with the exact same backstory as Bruce Wayne, and just one slight reroll of the RPG personality die so that he's a sociopath this time instead of being a vigilante like Bruce Wayne became. It's not different enough to flesh out characters that are interesting and unique and feel real. Right? So these guys smash that guy. So you had that long hallway, and because of that I could just grabbed the guy with the gun and dragged him. Which kind of does feel a little Batman-esque, I guess. There was another way to do this, in which I could have come up here, and I would have been somewhat closer. But I don't know if there's really a reason for that. Seems like we're probably going to run into a door that's locked. And yeah, still playing the game in detective mode. Like, even if you weren't doing the whole collectible thing, playing the game in detective mode still is a requirement. Because of how often you're scanning for something. Here you have some very public showers, which have the exact same faucet head as was on the sinks in that one bathroom we found. Rather reddish shadow there. That's an odd thing. So in all of Arkham Asylum it feels like we're going to run into one set of showers and one bathroom for the entire island. Let's see. There was a riddle. Oh, here's another bathroom. But the camera is looking at you, and 3 different lenses on the camera, which feels very sci-fi. Not something you really would expect from a Batman story. I'm not seeing any people, so I assume there kind of isn't. But there's a Riddler trophy. More collectibles. Yep. Same faucet head, shower head, maybe scaled down a little bit. Alright, So we finally have an upgrade. So we're going to take the special combo takedown. So now I can hit B and Y. It's an unblockable instant takedown after achieving a combo score of 8, which we're rarely going to get. And then that opens up a special combo boost, allows special combo moves to be executed after the 5th or 6th. I can't even read that from like what I'm looking at. My TV's 10 feet away on the other side of the room, and I think it says 5, which that helps. And then the other thing we already had, which was the combo batarang. Otherwise, I'm not sure we're going to unlock anything else. We could start. Clearly the next upgrade we want to get is to reduce the number of combos so we can use the other abilities, because I'm not getting combos very fast. And then we'll deal with seeing if we can get some more abilities. I'm not sure that the more abilities matter. That's interesting. We walked through the caution tape. We don't do that in any other instance. Very orange. Very, very orange. And when we look here in the background, we just see the cabinets. So there's not like there's a trick to this. This is interesting. How do you reflect on your success? It's interesting in two ways. A, it's an answer to the riddle, but B, it's actual mirror technology in a game where most games don't bother to have mirror technology. You can definitely tell that the reflection is not as well animated. It's a little bit lower resolution than the original version that's being rendered, but that is not bad. Not bad by any means, when most games will not have mirrors. A game that came out relatively recently that I played called Control, I don't think it had any reflections in it, which was any mirrors, direct mirrors in it, which was really weird because it's one of the very first ray tracing games where reflections would have worked really well. And they do work very well in partial reflections of slightly opaque glass like this, which in this game clearly there's no ray tracing, so you're not seeing a partial reflection of Batman's image in this opaque glass, which is not breakable. But they didn't bother to just put a regular reflection in the game, just a actual mirror. It's gonna be a little weird, I suppose, if we do the penitentiary and then there's a whole another couple ways to get through. That straight up scanned me, and that's a lot of people. 2 people, 1 voice, no gun. So I don't know if this is a gas thing. No, it's just straight up crazy people. Electrified floors, by the way. So very, very late into the game, we've got a 3rd skin model, and we've got people that must have been infected with the Project Titan stuff. Like you kind of have to assume that that's the case. I can grapple up there. Not everybody seems to be just a raving lunatic. Some of them seem to be just traumatized. But they all do seem to be pretty crazy. And they want me to go through that way with a disabled thing. And the walls are padded, so it almost seems like this would have been the crazy part, but that doesn't make sense because, like, why wouldn't these be people that can't do anything with the gun locker? Locker containing guns. So there's a gun locker here that we can't do anything with, and yet it's scannable. And then there's another gun locker over here. Then there's some switches. These kind of enemies would have worked nicely around the idea of Batman always being infected by the Joker gas. That way, like, here's a gun. 2 names, which would be Two-Face's gun, wouldn't this? 2 people.
You found that one too? Preposterous.
Or the ventriloquist. I guess that was the ventriloquist gun. So the ventriloquist is the guy who also had, they didn't even put them together. Scarface here. So yeah, puppet who was created by the ventriloquist, a split personality of the ventriloquist. Weird. Another interview tape.
Inpatient evaluation 5.
Way too many of
Victor
these
is not
back to
responding
back.
well to treatment. Victor, yesterday we spoke about the people you killed.
Ah, the zombies.
They are all people, Victor.
They are zombies. Continuously shuffling through the daily grind, waiting for someone to liberate them.
You mean kill them? The police report states that you've murdered, or liberated if you like, 20 young women in the last 3 months. Each had her throat slit and was left posed.
They were all lucky to be chosen to receive my gift.
I doubt they would agree with you.
Really? How about you, Miss Cassidy? As you take the elevator to your apartment each night, open the 6 locks to apartment 433. Remember you forgot to buy your cat food. Again,
How do you know
as
where
you sit down on your favorite red chair, cat on lap, just waiting for something to happen. I can make it happen, Sarah. I am your salvation.
There's some problems with that dialogue. First of all, if he was a true sociopath, I don't think he would particularly have a type that he kills. There's a difference between a absolute random serial killer, which are very hard to find and capture and stop, and most serial killers that are going for a specific type. If he's killed 20 young girls, why hasn't he killed any old people? Why hasn't he killed any males? That doesn't seem like somebody with an emotionless, random urge to kill. That seems like somebody has a deep-seated emotional reason why they're trying to kill. I imagine it would be either he was emotionally abused by his mother, or he was scorned or bullied horribly by a young girl, and he would be acting out some revenge fantasies. Again, acting out revenge fantasies is an emotional idea, not something a true sociopath would do. So they're kind of writing Victor's ass here as something that he really wouldn't be. Also, if you were halfway intelligent, if somebody had murdered 20 young girls, I don't think you would assign a psychotherapist who was a female to deal with that person. Just my guess there. I would assume you would want to have somebody who works from a different perspective and comes from a different demographic, if at all possible. Alright, well, that's absolutely nothing. And you'd think that for something like this you would just have a lever or switch that you could press, or a button to press to disable that shortcut. Clearly, if they had a little bit more time and a little bit more funding, I was in charge, I would have told them to certainly program some of these electric fences to just turn off by the switch of a lever instead of turning off by the hacking ability that we don't have. There really is nothing here, so either magically all of these fences and gates are going to disappear and this becomes a big room where we fight, or a bunch of people get freed and there's, I don't know how much more that you really take from that, and you fight them around the corners, or maybe a bunch of people get freed and just get electrocuted by the Joker because that's what the Joker would do. Over here, I think is a security, a return path. I feel like if I walked in the water right now, I'd get electrocuted. You're getting a lot of sparks there, but because of the limitations of the ability to animate water electrified, they're really not depicting the situation as well as they should. I could still see some people thinking that it would be safe to walk there. Why are these scanners opening for me? Is a great question. And is this Poison Ivy? Or is this Zaz? I think it's Poison Ivy. She might be an interesting femme fatale, although canonically I think pretty much consistently she's supposed to be gay these days. That has never really stopped her in the past, though, from using her poison kiss to enthrall and use men. So could be an interesting character, but also very, very late to being added to the story. I don't know what her motivation would be, other than freedom.
Stop, Batman, please! You've got to help my babies!
This suit is very different.
Really not interested in a bunch of flowers, Ivy.
They're in pain, crying for help!
This is a totally different look for Poison Ivy.
Just stay
weird to give her red hair.
Last thing I need is you running free.
Poor children.
But she's
I'll save
basically in her underwear.
Everyone will pay.
This is also kind of a great example of Batman not manipulating and using her to his advantage as much as he should. He should keep her on his good side and offer to listen at least, because as a strategist, you know, sometimes she might be the enemy of your enemy, and she might turn out to be very useful and helpful. Yeah, so here's a comic book depiction of Poison Ivy with the leaf clothing, which makes a lot more sense than being a naturalist, and maybe that's supposed to translate into the implication of being somewhat of a nudist. or partial nudist. But she is depicted with red hair, but then the rest of her skin is green and the outfit's green. Whereas if we look at her, we have red hair with these with like decent animation of hair at that time, green eyes, but then a red shirt that's barely buttoned at all, and then just underwear. You would have covered up more with the green outfit, and at the very least you could have made this green to fit the character motif. Unless the color green somehow gives her power, which I don't think it does. I think plants give her power. We can see all around here there's more crazy people, so why would you cage people in the same chamber that that Poison Ivy is in, since she's such a special case? This guy is hanging by a thread, and she's crying because the plants are being killed. What plants? I don't even know. Let's see. So this guy is just hanging. So unless there was a way to explode this, we can't. Seems like this was maybe an Easter egg that they wanted you to see. Meanwhile, you wouldn't see anything, you'd just be hearing noises and patting on the walls everywhere. She only has a couple of lines of dialogue. So we spent a decent amount of time. Right now we're in the Green Mile, which is a reference to that movie, which is a reference to people on death row. Why would Poison Ivy be on death row? I mean, it's a good pun, but it doesn't really make sense. And the Green Mile, I think, specifically more is a reference to how someone on death row escaped death row in the book and the movie. So there's something called the 36 steps or the 39 steps, which is supposedly the number of steps from this jail cell you're kept in before you're executed in the execution chamber. I don't think too many people would recognize that as a reference. It would be way easier to just say death row. There's no collectible in here, and there's a decent number of collectibles around. Very, very late to bring in Poison Ivy, which does kind of get back to the way the story is being told. Like, since this is basic video game logic, and you just need a collection of enemies and a general threat, you have the basic story. The Joker opens all the doors in Arkham Asylum at the beginning of the game, and he maybe has a bigger plot that you're not aware of. In one area, instead of having Sharp and Commissioner Gordon and Young, these three people, they're all right next to each other for convenience sake, instead of having them all kidnapped and that being a motivating factor, you simply have Zaz is running around and you have to capture him. Poison Ivy is running around and you have to capture him. The Riddler is running around and putting out all these Riddler collectibles and you have to capture him. The Killer Croc is running around and you have to capture him. Harley Quinn's running around and you have to capture him. Bane is running around. The Scarecrow is running around. You've got plenty of motivation there to run around a open world Arkham Asylum, or Arkham Asylum with some of Gotham City included. There's plenty of other characters also. Had they had more budget, they could have thrown into the story. Oracle could play a bigger role than she really does. None of these characters, I think, really needed to be in the story, and so that's why they're just getting little vague references more than actual interaction with what's going on. But yeah, you could have had the Penguin included. You could have Bane included. Whoever shows up here is probably another villain that you could have included. And then this collection of people seems to be mostly good guys. Yeah, and you could even have had Frank Boyles be a tutorial character that you had to fight and beat up. That would have worked fairly well too. And yeah, let's see, we're almost to 50% on the collectibles, which does make the argument we're probably not going to do too much more. And it looks like this room either is going to open up into a new floor or something, or there's going to be an ability or an item I get that gives us a reason to wander around. This is, I suppose, the way this seems to work is, I don't know what this part of the penitentiary is going to open into, because this can't just be a shortcut exit from where we are. There has to be more. And one assumes that I'm not going to just beat the game, and but I might be a lot closer to the end of the game than it seems like I am, because I don't know, we may just do what needs to be done here, get that last Metroidvania upgrade ability, which I'm fairly certain unlocking and hacking the electric doors is the last upgrade ability. And then the story may just push us to the botanical gardens and beating the story, and then maybe there's reasons why you might want to run around the island and get all the collectibles, or reasons you might not want to do that. It's not like you really need to at this point. One more level, 2 more levels will upgrade you enough. I guess there are 2 Metroidvania abilities though, because we still don't have the ability to throw the batarang and explode things with the batarang. So that's another thing to think about. And it certainly is not a case where it feels like we're close to the end of the game. It would be really, really weird if they just introduced Poison Ivy. There's also something to be said, if they were going to remake these games, you could do it in a very different way than you would most remakes, because you would need to change all the skins and all the outfits of all the characters. Like, the Poison Ivy that's being depicted now is not the way Poison Ivy is usually depicted these days. The Harley Quinn that's being depicted now doesn't look anything like the Harley Quinn that's depicted these days. The Joker, as he's depicted now, is pretty close to the Joker as he's depicted nowadays, so you wouldn't have to change too much there. But yeah, even the Batman outfit probably needs an upgrade. So even if you were just to make a remake, you'd have to reskin everything, on top of probably adjusting some things and rethinking what characters are involved and what characters aren't. And that wouldn't have been so much the case had they just tried to say the Killing Joke miniseries, for instance, where the Joker broke Batgirl's back, I believe. That would have been a fine story, that if you were telling a video game version of that story, that would stand the test of time and be in line with that comic series. So you wouldn't have to really refresh or update or modernize anything in a remake or remaster. Here, since it's a standalone story, it now has, if you were to remake it, or if you're just going to remaster it, you don't have to do this. But if you're going to full on remake this game, you would have to bring it up from 2009 DC timeline to 2020 DC timeline, or whenever it actually was remade. And at that point, you're basically just making a brand new game. And that's probably what they should do with the Batman series. Is they had some success with the Arkham series. They should take what worked, cut out the things that didn't work, and move forward and just make a new series and We should just always have a new Batman game every 3 to 4 years, because Warner Brothers has that license and should do something with it. If anything, they should expand the DC video games and have a lot more stories telling a lot more of the other characters, because that would be helpful too. The DC certainly has plenty of characters, so it's kind of ridiculous that the only games they show up in are things like the Injustice fighting game series, and that's about it. We don't have Flash games. We don't really have Superman games. We don't have we don't have any of the Green Lantern core games, which you could potentially have 3 or 4 of those a year for as many different Green Lantern comics. We don't have any of the outer space DC universe told. Yeah. There's a lot of content there to mine. Now, albeit a lot of the DC comics are pretty bad, there's something to do there. And even if they were going to do a Booster Gold series or a Blue Beetle series, some very obscure DC character, that still is probably something that would get them a few more sales than making a brand new game with a brand new IP. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.